My life is so busy, and yet somehow I still find time to read. It's one of the things that my mom says to me kind of regularly. She says, "You do so much. How is it that you still have time to read?" And I think that it's because I, first off, enjoy reading. I think it gives me a lot of information, and I just like how it stimulates my brain. But also, I just think I make it a priority. I see books. I love books. I have a hard time borrowing books from the library because I like writing in books and making notes and everything else. So I thought that today I would just go through what I've been reading lately because I haven't uploaded a YouTube video in a while, like a long form hello video. And that's just because life has been hectic. Right now, my husband has all 4 kids at Target. I am going to be meeting him at 5 o'clock for Mass. And all the while, I'm hanging out with our dog, and our cat had kittens. So this is Nellie. This is one of our new cats. Her name is from Charlotte's Web because I just finished Charlotte's Web with my 2 oldest, my 6-year-old, and almost 5-year-old. She's going to be 5 in just a couple weeks. So we just read Charlotte's Web for the first time, and then they got to watch the cartoon version from 1974 on VHS, nonetheless. And that was a fun experience. But Nellie is the 3rd daughter of Charlotte at near the end of the book because we weren't sure what we were going to name her. We actually kept her twin gray brother as well, who is currently going by Big Head. And I would love suggestions for names to replace that because right now all I can come up with are human names such as George or Frank or Greg. And none of those I think are a good fit. Hey, don't chew on that basket. What are you doing? It's like having another child. But the kids love the cats. And my dog is like a therapy dog. He's wonderful. And they all get along great. Our cat Boba had 5 kittens. So, and we kept 2 of you. So ended Charlotte's Web, and now we're reading Wizard of Oz. So that is in my homeschool space of chapter books. We're just entering chapter books, and it's been a lot of fun. They are engaged. There aren't any pictures, so we're just introducing no picture books. I think the version of Wizard of Oz that I'm reading has 25 pictures in it, and they're from the movie, so it's a full page picture, and I don't have it here with me in this bookshelf, which this is my new bookshelf. I'm still working on it to iron out the details of what books I want to keep in here and which books will go out in the living room, but I spent a lot of time over the weekend and last week reorganizing the homeschool room and moving the more formal homeschool storybooks, Make Way for Ducklings and The Little Engine That Could, the traditional, more classic stories. I spent time moving those to one of the bookshelves that was initially behind me, that has been behind me here in this space. That's in our living room now. And I might take you out for a quick little, I might show you a little bit of of what's going on in the homeschool room near the end of this video, but I thought I'd just start with what I'm reading. So one of the books that I am currently trying to catch up on, I'm a part of a women's group that meets every other Monday night for the most part, and they read Jesus and the Jubilee by Dr. John Bergsma, who is a professor at Steubenville. And I'm still trying to catch up on this because I did not have the book during Lent, and now I'm borrowing it from one of the girls. So I'm trying to catch up on this. This is one that's one of those I should be reading, but I'm not. But our current book that we're reading is Sincerely Stoneheart by Emily Wilson. And this book is written in the spirit of the Screw Tape Letters. When Emily first started posting them on her Instagram in her captions, I thought that they were really, really good. And her vocabulary that she uses, she really does lean into the Old English, and I've really enjoyed reading it. I was hesitant to, just due to some personal experiences in different ways, and I talked to one of my friends about it, and she really kind of pushed me past that to be like, why are you kind of holding on to this or that, and how can you move forward, because I felt like there was just so much to glean from this book. And so I'm very grateful that I've purchased it. It's very, very good. And I think really speaks to the heart. You know, I think Emily is likely like speaking to herself as well as she's writing this book, just to encourage herself through her journey too. And I think that that's probably where some of the most authentic books can come from, is when somebody's speaking from an experience of this is what I go through and how the Lord is speaking to me. And may the Lord speak to you in a similar fashion that he's speaking to me. So that's what I see and experience when I read Sincerely Stoneheart. And I don't know, I think she did a marvelous job putting this together, and I'm really enjoying it. So those are my two women's group books that I'm currently reading. This cat is chewing on papers. You are a kitten. She loves me though. She follows me. I'll be somewhere and I'll turn around. She's just staring at me. I'll go to the bathroom or something. The moment I open the door, she's sitting there waiting for me. Little Nelly. Here, go on. Go do something else. Stop chewing on the box. So those are my women's group. Two of the books that I am focusing on for homeschool that are specifically Catholic based are A Saint a Day. So this one's newer. We just started reading it. It's Tommy Nelson. It's Meredith Hines is who wrote it. And then Isabel Munoz is who illustrated it. So we only just started this, but this is going to be our daily saint book. They're short pages. It's just one, it's not even 8.5 by 11. They're small. It's a small page, but today is August 24th. Yesterday it was St. Rose of Lima, and I really appreciated the story because it was different than ones that I had heard before, and maybe that's because I'm Protestant and haven't heard all the stories, but I didn't realize that St. Rose of Lima, her real name was Isabel, and Rose was her nickname because she was going to grow into a beautiful bride. I did not know that it was a nickname. I thought that her actual name was St. Rose, but St. Rose of Lima was actually born Isabel. But August 24, it is Venerable Felix Varela, and Cuba, United States, lived from 1788 to 1853. So this is really nice because with my children, we're only now getting into timelines where I'm explaining years. So they've recently memorized their birthday. And so when I talk about the year that they're born, we're discussing more time periods and getting into a little bit more of that. I don't know how deep we'll go. My 6-year-old is technically in first grade. So, and I'm kind of just doing what shows up. But so it says, Felix became a priest when he was 23 years old. He studied and served in Havana, Cuba, the city where he was born, until he was moved to the United States. He became the first Cuban priest to serve in New York City. Felix knew that God had chosen the poor to be rich in faith and heirs of his kingdom, so Felix concentrated on serving the poorest people in the city, many of whom were immigrants from Ireland. Felix was so generous that he would give away his own coats to people who needed them, which is biblical, right? I look at our coat closet regularly and think about all the coats we have because I have 4 children. And, if you have an extra coat, give it to one who's in need. And I need to go through the coats and just say, you only need 1 or maybe 2 because we're in Michigan and we have different layers of need for our jackets. As it is. Then there's a prayer, which I'm really trying to start every day with the kids in prayer. And so I love that this is just a short thing. And it says, Jesus, help me be rich in faith and to love the poor the way that Venerable Felix Varela did. And it says, Venerable Felix Varela is on track to become a saint. And Venerable Felix Varela served a post in the Spanish government representing Cuba until he was exiled because Spanish leadership did not like his ideas. So, and then tomorrow it's St. Louis of France, which I presume that's St. Louis de Montfort, and I obviously have a very special devotion to him. So, and to our Blessed Mother with the consecrations and whatnot, okay, I'll get into that maybe here near the end. Okay, so that's one. The other one that I'm really focusing on for Catholic homeschool is theology. And this is such a beautifully illustrated book. I really like classic, minimal. This is my little bookmark. They're little bookmarks. But so it just goes through theology in a very simplistic way. And even in the beginning, there's a parent's guide like this, where it's early elementary students, so ages 6 to 9, upper elementary students, teen and adults. There's this idea of this is a very family-focused book. book. It can be applicable to pretty much any age, which is the style of homeschool that I do. I utilize the Good and the Beautiful curriculum, which I know there's some controversy about, created by Mormons, I guess, is like it's a Mormon-based curriculum, but I haven't noticed anything. And for me, with my kids, even if we do encounter something that is contrary to our faith, I prefer to engage with that and discuss it and kind of open that door for conversation instead of acting like we're the only religion to ever exist and we're the only way that anybody ever lives. I don't raise my kids that way. And so, but as it is with the Good and the Beautiful, it's very family focused. And even once you hit third grade, they have family unit studies where they have journals for the different grades, but you cover the same material. They all just examine it in a different way. So that's very much how theology is. And it's broken down into sections, starting with creation and it starts with who God is, first and foremost, and then into the creation, the fall, the law, who Christ was, just all the different things, the end times. It goes all the way through. So this is also a very useful resource guide, and it's engaging for the kids. We pause, we talk, we engage. So those are my two primary homeschool books I thought I would share. Obviously, I already stated we just read Charlotte's Web and Wizard of Oz, which are just classics anyway. Another book I'm reading right now, actively reading. These are all active reading books. I have an insane amount of reference books. I can't even tell you how many reference books I have. Hundreds. And I feel like I open them regularly and look at them and, examine. But as far as sitting down reading chapter for chapter, what am I reading right now? I'm reading Vax-Unvax, Let the Science Speak by Robert F. Kennedy Jr. So this book really focuses on the studies that have gone into vaccines or lack thereof, and essentially examines why are we pushing something that has not been so thoroughly studied because excuses are continually made that it can't be done. So, it's one of those things kind of like the pregnancy, like vaccine and pregnancy, the DTaP or TDAP, whichever way you say it. They always told me that there aren't any studies on pregnant women because it would be unethical. And that always confused me because they recommend it to all of the pregnant women, but they say, but there can't be a study for it because it's unethical. And some of the justification for that is they say, well, it's unethical because if we withhold life-saving measures from somebody, then, we've deprived them of something that they had a right to. And that doesn't work in medicine as a whole. Any type of new medication, any type of new therapy has control studies. You have a placebo and you have the medication or the change, right? So that always confused me. And I remember even saying to my doctor, I'd be willing to participate in a study like that. I don't understand why that would be unethical if you're asking me to get it, I don't know. So anyway, so it's interesting the justifications that are made specifically about vaccines and just kind of where some of the claims come from with the whole only 1 in a million people are affected by it, when really over a 3-year period, it looked like it was a 1 in 10 chance of having an adverse effect, which one of my children had an adverse effect from a vaccine, like a physical manifestation from the vaccine. So I've wondered if the pediatricians reported that or not, because it was clearly directly related. There was no question about it because it had to do with the aluminum in it. And so anyway, so that's kind of where I've opened my mind to this vax-unvax, because I'm fully vaccinated. I was as a child. I was probably one of the first to get the chickenpox, the varicella vaccine, right? Because I was born in 91. I think it was released in 96 or 97, something. And right, my mom trusted the doctors to just say, okay, yes, this is good for your child. And I've never had chickenpox. I'm immune to chickenpox without ever having it. So are my brothers. So, and right, my mom had the friends that said, hey, you want to have a chickenpox party? And lo and behold, she was like, actually, my kids are vaccinated, because my mom is quite crunchy, as the words would go nowadays, with all the loose leaf tea and natural, avoid all this stuff. Always has been. All right. And then, so I'm reading Vax-Unvax, and that's been enlightening. It's kind of a nighttime read before bed. And then the one that is my primary one that I very easily could have started with, I suppose, is A Mother's Rule of Life. So this book, I was even unaware of the rule of life in convents, which my sister-in-law was a part of a convent for some time, and so we talked about the rule of life, and I guess it was St. Benedict that came up with it, which is discussed in this book. But it's essentially finding a rule of life for my own, and it's how to bring order to your home and peace to your soul. And it's been, I'm still, there are 5 P's that she talks about developing, which are prayer, person, partner, parent, provider. So those are the 5, and I've only worked through and begun to establish the first P, which is prayer. So I am focused on how can I center my day around prayer, and I just feel motivated to follow through. I feel like that's one of my convictions in reading this book, is that I just feel like lately I've really struggled with follow through. And I don't know if that's because I've been so on the fence about my marriage, that maybe that's just infiltrated an overall disposition that of unsurety, But I'm hoping that with dedication and mindfulness and kind of, I feel recommitted to my marriage with the action steps that my husband has taken, which were like very valid and needed action steps if you're unfamiliar with our story. But as it stands, I feel open and like committed to the marriage at this point. So, and I just, that follow through piece, I'm praying that the Lord gives me grace to be able to follow through with these commitments. This idea of starting the day at 6:00 and reading scripture for a half hour, or attending the certified catechist classes again online through Franciscan University that I'm still enrolled in, right? Is that a level of what my spiritual direction should look like? Are those classes? Should I look to those professors as spiritual directors? Because I feel like I know what a spiritual director would say to me. I just need the grace and fortitude to follow through with the things that I'm clearly called to. I know those things, but can I feel them? Can I follow through with them without having this deep seated sense of motivation? Can I work even if I don't feel motivated? Can I get out of bed even if I don't feel like getting up? Can I do things even if I don't feel like doing them? Can I run? Can I work out? Can I choose healthy foods to eat? Can I do these things without without a feeling of motivation? Can I do it just logically? That's what I need the grace for right now. If you're praying for me, that's one of the things that I need, is just that fortitude to keep going. And I'm really hopeful that with A Mother's Rule of Life, with this book, that it's going to help give me that structure that gives me an ability to frame my day, that I approach it in a whole new way. Because I do tend toward a more loose structure for sure, more seat of the pants. Like, yes, I love to make plans and I mentally prepare for the next day and stuff like that. But I think that, having, 6 to 6:30, I know, if you can't go that way, you'll knock over my camera. I know, you can't go up there right now though, sorry. 6 to 6:30 scripture reading, and then basically it was, one of the questions she asked for the prayer was, what is a reasonable expectation for any Christian to pray every day? And so immediately my brain goes to prayer before meals and prayer before bed, which we do those things already. I could be more prudent with every meal, praying before every single meal. Get back to that box. But then as I thought about it more, I thought about the music that I listen to, which is not bad music. I listen to Hollow Coves, which is a Christian band, or at least Christian based. And I listen to very acoustic, easygoing, easy to listen to type music. That's, I don't listen to anything that's not wholesome, but it's not worship music. It's not Gregorian chant. It's not something that would be used. I would say sometimes the songs I listen to are listened to in a prayerful way, but when I'm preparing dinner at 4:30, could I just turn on the rosary instead? Could I pray a rosary every day at 4:30? At 1 o'clock every day, could I do a little reading? Could I, but right. So having kind of those grounding points, a saint a day, knowing that ends with a small prayer, grounding the children just in starting the day, even just centered, even if it's brief, doesn't need to be long, just bringing that in. So kind of trying to establish that mother's rule of life is something that I'm working on right now and what I'm actively reading. So that's kind of the main thing. And then as far as I grabbed 3 books that I want to read next, which are all, I probably have so many, but I picked 3 that I took with me on vacation because I thought I would want to look at them. So I'm reading A Mother's Rule of Life. That's very much where my focus is. I am a homeschooling, mom of 4, open to more children, all of the things, right? So the next book is Jennifer Pepito, Habits for a Sacred Home, 9 Practices from History to Anchor and Restore Modern Families. I have glanced through this a little bit, but I have not had a chance to sit down and read it. This is on my to read next list, along with, Holy Hike, right? Jamie Erickson, Creating a Place for People to Gather and the Gospel to Grow. This is actually also, I believe she must have worked with somebody because there's a game, like the Haig game. It's Swedish, so I don't know, somebody else designed it, and it's just very similar patterns, but there's a game, the Haig game, which is a conversation starter. When we were on vacation, there was the game on the table, and it was, we really enjoyed it. Or no, Danish, not Swedish. Oh, Hayuga. I guess it looks like Haig. Maybe it's pronounced Hayuga. It's a funny Danish word with no English equivalent. It has ties to comfort and consolation. It's a way of making the mundane and necessary meaningful and beautiful. It's soul rest. When you sit in a comfy chair by the fire, that's Hayuga. When you arrange a fresh bouquet of wildflowers on a bedside table, that's Hayuga too. Candles, soft furnishing, natural light, fresh baked pastries, intimate gatherings with friends, they are all Hayuga. So right, like slow living, shared moments, beauty and contentment, warm and inviting, opposite of hustle, embraces simplicity. This whole idea of creating your life as a sanctuary. The quote here up at the top, before God made humanity, he made a home for them. He built a sacred space, and we can do the same. This is something that I have really had to grow in because I was very much raised in a home that focused on, this is not our home, right? We are aliens on this earth. Our eternal home is in heaven. And even just being married to my husband, where he believes the home should be a place of respite, that should be a place that we enjoy being, which I don't disagree with. But growing up, all of our baseboards were wooden. It was kind of an older home. I never really liked our house all that much because it was just kind of older style and it never really resonated with me. So even just being married to my husband, who's very into like mid-century modern, but also like modern, simplistic, minimalist somewhat, just finding what resonates with me, right? Like a white bookshelf with gold edges, something that's light and bright. I like that. So growing in that for me, getting Theology of Home, having Theology of Home Part 2. Do I have Theology of Home Part 3? I might. I don't know. But this whole concept of building a home that is enjoyable to be in and brings comfort and peace to the soul. I feel like that's why I'm focused on this like habits for a sacred home. Holy Hayuga, which is right there. Those types of things, the mother's rule of life. And the other one, of course, is still family oriented, but this is one that I wanted to do with my husband that we started and need to continue in, but it's The Well-Ordered Family. And this is by Connor Gallagher. Connor, I believe, has 16 kids and very much approaches family life from a logical standpoint. Alec and I, in our first little bit of looking at it, it was a few months back that we sat down with it. But in the first few minutes of looking at it, we thought, you can't really approach family with such structure. Otherwise, you lose the personability or just the engagement, genuine being with. But I think obviously there's still going to be a ton in here that we can apply, where if you just think of the different things. So he puts it into groups of vision, unity, systems, discernment, relationships, and metrics. And one of the first things that he focuses on in this book, or at least that we read, maybe we chose to do it out of order, I'm not sure, but it was a family meeting, get together, have a family meeting, be focused on where you want to go as a family. What are your goals? Maybe come up with a family motto. Figure out what kind of virtues you guys value most as a family unit. Basically, that sense of togetherness. And that's where he starts. I'm sure we started with either vision or unity. And so this is one, too, that I really want to read and get into just in this new sense of togetherness that we never really had in the past when everything was just so broken and I didn't know why. Now that that's been identified and it's being processed and we're moving forward from it, I just think we have a really amazing opportunity to build what Christ and what God always intended for family. That's my hope is slowly coming back, potentially partially thanks to like antidepressants, which is also fine for me to be on. But I mean, even just talking right now, I feel hope. Like, one of my last journal entries in regard to my current marital struggles was along the lines of I know how much God has transformed my life, and trust in my husband right now is totally gone, but my trust in God is different. And so right now I need to trust God that his power is enough to truly transform my husband's life and to truly transform our marriage and to truly transform, like, that's trusting God and his power that he's capable of that. And so I think that's where a lot of my mindset has been just trying to focus on trusting God in this and trying to maintain whatever level of stability I can. And I feel like we're coming out of the desperation and the critical depths of doubt and despair. I think there's still like so much work to be done, and that's okay. We all do, there's just so much to being human. And I am just really hopeful that my feelings of commitment toward the marriage and toward the family and toward everything that God has ordained in my life, that I would be able to maintain my convictions to these different aspects, right? Like creating a home for my children where they feel safe, secure, and loved. Creating an environment for my husband where he feels safe and secure to share. For him to create an environment where I feel protected and I feel safe. For him to be able to step up to be the type of man and to be the man that God has created him to be. And then through that, allowing me to be the fullness of the woman that God has created me to be and the mother that God has created me to be. And how can we support each other in that? Hi, Nellie. She's my buddy, I'm telling you. She's so sweet. So that's kind of where we are with it, and that's where I am with it. I really don't want you over here right now. Say hello. You're a cutie. I know. You just want to walk all over my stuff. I suppose one of the other things that I did very recently get that I didn't even know I was going to like as much as I do is my to-do planner. Today was the first day I used it, but it has a quote at the bottom of every page, which if you know me, I almost can't buy a journal unless it has a different quote or Bible verse at the bottom. I love the reflection of just a little quote. I don't know why. I don't know if I'm the only one that's why. Anyway, so today's was a quote from Buddha, who's still a very, very wise person, right? I mean, there's still a lot that can be gleaned. Who says, "Stop trying to calm the storm. Calm yourself. The storm will pass." And that, I think, really goes back for me too in the Serenity Prayer. I've been, I go back to the Serenity Prayer a lot, but, Lord, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Is the storm within me or is it around me? Is it around me and I'm causing it to cause a storm in me? Ouch! Yeah, sharp claws. what steps do I need to take to calm myself as I wait for the storm to pass? And that has not been easy. I have had a lot of very hard, difficult days, and I'm sure that there will be more, but I think that as the homeschool year starts, as we get into a more, just kind of simplified mode and focused mode of everything going on, that yeah, we can get there. We can just be balanced and have structure. The part up here I am grateful for, and today I put motivation and structure. Those are the two things I feel grateful for right now. It's like I think humans I think we do very well if we have structure and we know what the expectations are, all those pieces. So if I know that I feel like 6 o'clock is a reasonable time to wake up, get some coffee, sit down with scripture or the Franciscan courses, do that from 6 to 6:30, and then I can be up and about. We're praying before meals. We're starting with these lessons. I got all kinds of things for homeschool this year because I feel like it's our first year of actual homeschool where I'm not just unschooling. I feel like I'm feeling more committed to having a set curriculum and really moving forward with, okay, we're going to do a lesson and we're going to learn structured things now with the good and the beautiful, which is still such a casual and pretty and quaint curriculum. I really like it. I don't know. I looked at a lot. Mother of Divine Grace, Colby Academy, Tan Academy, all of them, right? So many just felt too stiff for me. It might be my Protestant upbringing. I don't know, but they're definitely getting a Protestant disposition with the Catholic faith. So I hope my kids know what they're getting when it comes to me, because it feels rare and unique, and I just love every minute of it. Honestly, I feel such a passion for God, and then also a passion for the truth of who the church is, of who Christ is, of who it's been preserved that he is, and the Eucharist and everything surrounding that. So, and his family, I don't know, just all the stuff. So that's been my life lately. A kitten that just loves to follow me around and get into everything. Creating to-do lists, doing the reading has been a big part of everything. Getting homeschool formulated, which I love, a good game. And my kids are finally getting old enough to where we can sit down and play a game we played last night, a reading game, right? So it's easy for me, but just that they can sit there, they can take their turn. And even the twins, one of them is recognizing letters, and they're 2.5. It's just fun. I really enjoy it. And then I'm also like, oh, we could throw a baby in the mix. So who knows? Who knows what the Lord has for us? Because obviously prior to the twins, we had secondary infertility. Who knows if we can even get pregnant naturally, which I am not interested in trying many formulations of anything. It's like, if I get pregnant, ouch, girl. If I get pregnant, great. And if I can't get pregnant, I'm happy to adopt. I would love to adopt a sibling group. I've said it so many times. But even adopting a baby or whatever would come our way. I'm so open to the path that God might have for us that it doesn't even matter. I'm just happy to be here today. I'm happy to have had an opportunity to sit down with you and just sort of catch you up on what I've been reading, what I've been doing, and this cat who loves my chair and my blanket. She's such a sweet cat. She is very sweet. I love the cats that are actually around and don't just hide in the basement all the time. And she is the opposite of a basement dweller. Aren't you? Aren't you the opposite of a basement dweller? So, okay. Let me know if you've been reading anything recently. I know I have a book waiting at my P.O. box. We just got back from a 10-day vacation, and this week was... I had to settle. My hair actually I wore it in a bun so many days in a row that I actually had little mats in my hair, and it was just a whole thing. So I'm going to hopefully get to my P.O. box today or tomorrow, get that book. I think it's about Our Lady of Guadalupe, if I'm not mistaken. Right, Scott? So I have a book waiting for me there. I'm intrigued to see that, but I think I still have to read the last book you sent me, which is right here, because, we know how much I love Jesus and the Jewish roots of the Eucharist, and Scott was so kind to send me Jesus and the Jewish roots of Mary. And this is Brant Pitre, who like, right, if you've listened to him on YouTube. If you haven't listened to him on YouTube, look him up. But he is just so good. So good. This one, actually, I'm considering one of... Okay, I know. This is a long video. I'm sorry. I just have all the time in the world since they went to Target, and I'm just here, and I just have to meet them at Mass at 5. But that's one of the things that I'm thinking about with the Mother's Rule is with that spiritual direction. I feel like the primary thing is having inspiration for this channel. I think that a spiritual director would encourage me in whatever capacity to be sharing my faith online. And when I first became Catholic, it was so easy because all I was doing was reading a dictionary of early Christian church, like early Christian fathers, and reading those quotes. I was looking everything up. I was so engaged. And now, obviously, with the children, I mean, I have this whole stack of authoritative parenting, and oh crap, I have a toddler, and the body keeps the score, and Busy Toddler's Guide to Actual Parenting, and The Explosive Child, and Dude, You're a Dad, and Simplicity Parenting, and How to Talk So Little Kids Will Listen, and The Whole Brain Child, and No Drama Discipline, and what's this other one? Love, Money, and Parenting. Like, I'm a mom now, and I homeschool. So I have Summa Domestica and fermented vegetables and mini farming and homesteading and the liturgy of the land and worms eat my garbage, right? My life has changed so much, and my passion for the faith has not diminished, but how it shows up in my life has changed so much. And so I felt so not misguided, but maybe misdirected or something in what I was to be sharing on this channel. And so what I'm hopeful for is just for that recentering to say, hey, I love Brant Petre's writings. Like, why don't I do Jesus and the Jewish Roots of Mary and do a study on it and show up every week and talk about the chapter? You know, why don't I do that with, any of these books I'm reading, but Sincerely Stoneheart, all I can think of was Screw Tape Letters. I'm like, it's not Screw Tape Letters. Why don't I do that with Mother's Rule of Life? Why don't I do that with how it's showing up in my life and just trust that that's going to help whoever shows up? But truly, doctrine is where I'm inspired. I think that anything that I read in a Mother's Rule of Life, anything that I read here, it's all going to be found in the catechism in some capacity. And I think that unifying piece where it's like, this is universally applicable. This isn't just for moms that have kids. This isn't just for, the moms who have kids. It's universal. It's applicable to the children, right? And so I just think that's why part of me, I'm like, maybe Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I read scripture. And on Tuesdays and Thursdays, I do the certified catechist classes, right? With Franciscan, because my diocese pays for it. It's such a wonderful offering, and it's like, it baffles me. I know it's been a very hard year, so I know why I took a step back, but it's like, it's available for me. They could stop. They could choose to not do it anymore, right? And so I have to be taking advantage of it while it's available. And I just keep thinking about that now, with reading this, and maybe something in there will just inspire me to talk about it, or talk about, obviously, I don't know, there's just so many avenues. And I just really pray that the Lord is able to give me the fortitude to do what I need to do, to be the healthiest I can be in mind, body, soul, and spirit, that my sleep schedule can be normalized in the ways that I have control over, because it is so out of whack. In ways that I am creating. It is not because I'm being woken up. I mean, yes, I'm getting woken up, but there are ways that I could improve it. And so that fortitude to just say, it's 9:30, it's time to get in bed. It's 6 o'clock, it's time to get out of bed. That I need that. That is my deepest desire right now, is just this fortitude. I am lacking in fortitude right now. And I'm just praying so deeply that the Lord would give me that underlying motivation that I need to maintain discipline in what it is that he's calling me to do, which is raise 4 humans, show up authentically with my faith, take care of myself, right? And I think a lot of that, if I center myself in prayer, which is something that has been tricky, but if I do that, if I take these suggestions from this book, from A Mother's Rule of Life, if I create a rule of life and lean into my vocation in its fullness, like my vocation of marriage, I truly believe, start of it all, this channel is a vocation. I was very called to it. It was edified by several people. Like, this is a vocation of mine, to show up and speak truth in a way that is understandable, concise. I love doing 5-minute videos. This is not a 5-minute video. You have to really like me to still be listening. So, yeah, just so many things. And then Patreon, getting to paint, which I do have. I do have this month's postcard. It's not right here. Shoot. I didn't move my painting stuff over here yet, but I'll have to share it. I'll share it over on Patreon or Instagram or wherever. But anyway, okay, I'm going to go. You've been awesome. Thank you for listening and sharing with me in life. I really am. You know, if you have a book that you think that I would be interested in, I'm always looking to expand my collection or seeing what's at the library. And hi, Nellie. She's back. Hi, sweetie. Oh, you want to play? Oh, okay, she wants to play. All right, I'm going to go figure out my outfit for church and get going on some of this other stuff. I have to cut Alex's hair today, too. YouTube video. Must get done today. Mow, which my husband did. Check. Cut Alex's hair. Have not done. Can do after bedtime. And do this YouTube video, which is now recorded, but now I need to get it over to my laptop. Do the things, right? I'm not editing this, so you get me. You got the full force, all of it. But God bless you. I'll talk to you soon. Thanks for listening. Bye.